The Friday Rugby Preview with Stuart Cameron.
Hello and welcome to the final Friday Rugby preview of the season, looking at the Borders clubs in action tomorrow, and technically it's the final round tomorrow, although there's still a few games to be played over the next couple of weeks. National 1 was of course completed a few weeks ago, and National 2 is still chugging on. Robin Purdie with me again, and let's look at last week and another big scoring week as well in the Premiership. An average of 80 points was scored 2 weekends ago. Last weekend we got up to just a fraction off 68 points per match.
Yeah, it seems like defence is optional at the moment. Some of the weeks an awful lot of tries being run in, but that's what we want at the end of the day, I guess. We want, if we can get them close games, and we don't want games to be 9-6 either. Don't want too many of them, so we shouldn't grumble, I suppose.
There was an extraordinary game actually in National 2. Newton Stewart scoring 65 points it was, and they beat Kirkcaldy, who scored 49. So any team going away from home scoring 49 points and coming away with just 1 point is a bit unlucky.
It is. That's a basketball game. That, never mind the cricket score. That's a basketball game. And yeah, Newton Stewart coming good at the right time of the season for sure.
Right. Okay. Let's have a look at the Premiership results from last weekend then. Ayr 29, Heriot's 17. The big clash of the Titans. It was tied at 17 all actually. Then a couple of late tries saw Ayr home and hosed, and they will finish top of the Premiership. That should be job done after a hard slog of a season, but of course they now have to go into this playoff situation and take on Currie in a few weeks' time in the first of potentially 2 knockout matches before they can call themselves league champions. My question obviously is, why can't we call the team that finishes top of the league champions regardless?
It's back to that, Stuart. Again, it's the same conversation every year, and I think it's a valid conversation. There are lovers of the playoffs and there are haters of the playoffs, and it looks very much like it's here to stay. I get it. It's not that convenient this season with it having been a 12-team league, and it's rumbled on now and almost into April, and the playoffs are still to come, and there's this other thing and there's that other thing, and nobody really quite knows when things are going to fall. So it's not that ideal this season. But yeah, I think what it does do is it gives, if teams are playing for third and playing fourth and second and whatnot, then there's less dead rubbers throughout the season. If there's one team going down from a 10-team Premiership and there's one team going to win the league, if there's no playoffs, then there's going to be a few dead rubbers at this time of year and a few dead rubbers pretty much after Christmas. So I get it from that point of view, and of course sponsors and clubs and probably the union, they want some kind of showpiece occasion, and I've loved the showpiece occasion in recent years. Who will forget Hogg v Currie, the late drama, and then Currie of course reversing it the year after, which was last year. So I get it, but I completely understand the argument of people that want some kind of acknowledgement for the team that finishes the regular season top of the pile. Now, my opinion is just do exactly as they've done in Super League, Rugby League, for years and years and years. That's where playoffs almost came first in the UK, and UK sport anyway. They adopted that, and they have a league leader shield. There is something that the league leader gets at the end of the regular season to signify the fact that they finished top of the pile. It literally is a shield, hence the name. So that to me is the obvious thing. There's a bit of recognition there, and then you go into the playoffs, and I don't see any reason why there's not that. But I understand both sides of the argument, Stuart, while being, I guess, a fan to an extent of the playoff system.
So we've got to look for a compromise, really, haven't we, between the two? Because I get your point as well, and I have to say the finals of the playoffs were great occasions as rugby matches, drama, well supported. So I totally get that. But it's kind of come on at the expense of the cup. I mean, the cup is just nothing to what it used to be, and that is such a shame. And I think we have an opportunity here to revive the cup, and instead of calling them playoffs, actually you all go into the cup, so at least you've got a competition after it which means something. But the main thing is you've got something tangible at the end of the season to say that you finished top of the pile after a grueling 22 matches.
That's a good point, Stu. If you're going to run the cup after the league season, then positions in the league season determine your seedings for the cup potentially, and that takes away some of the dead rubbers.
Absolutely, it takes all the dead rubbers away, in fact, which is the whole point of it. So you're trying to, I mean, it's no good me saying this isn't working and all the rest of it without coming up with a solution, and I think that's important. You have to have a solution, and that would certainly solve that issue of dead rubbers. It would also solve the cash for the clubs, because there's potentially 3 more games there, and I think that would work quite well. So I'm not against the competition after the league is finished, involving the clubs off the back of the league to, as I say, generate cash and revive the Cup, which is what we want to do. But why does it have to be an integral part of the league as a sort of add-on at the end? And that's what I don't like.
Yeah, I think you've got a point. I think there's a wider conversation here around the structure of the season as a whole. I mean, this season, and I get it, there's been a 12-team league and there's been a 9-team league, and it's all going to find its feet again next season when it goes back to 10, but it's a shambles now. At this point in time in this particular season, it's a shambles. There's clubs finished tomorrow, there's clubs still with 2 games to play, there's this National Cup, there's that National Cup, there's Silver Saturday, and there's Sevens, and there's I don't know. I'm doing this week in, week out, and I've no idea when some fixtures are going to fall or what we're
they're changing daily. Really.
That's it. So how must it be for the clubs, and then you've got the spectators? How can you make plans? But there's been gap weekends this weekend when I don't think there should have been gap weekends, and you need to give credence to Scotland and what. Well, yeah, that's fine, but why not play club games on a Friday night when Scotland? Find a workaround so that, yes, come hell or high water, the league season is going to be finished by XYZ date, and then you can move into your cup competition or whatever, isn't it? And it's predefined at the start of the season. Everybody knows where they stands. And yes, there might have to be workarounds or midweek, the odd, weather will crop up or whatever it is, but there has to be a better way than this season has been. We'll know more next season when things are a wee bit more structured, but it's been chaotic this season at times, to the point it's been a bit shambolic, in my opinion.
Last year we had 10-team leagues, and we still had, was it Hawick going 6 weeks without a game and then finally playing Currie in the final?
It was something like that, and that's no good for players, it's no good for supporters, it's sponsors, I guess, as well. You want a bit of routine, I think, and you want to know where you stand and when you're going to be doing this and when you're going to be doing that. And I think that that's a wider conversation, and the playoffs come into that as well. And can the playoffs be replaced by some kind of seeded cup competition that falls in the second half of the season after the leagues are drawn to a close, and like I say, everybody knows where they stand?
I've got nothing against playoffs when it's like ninth against the second team from the tier below, and we've had some tremendous matches. And again, I remember Megatland Dundee against Hawick when it was 39-38, 3 penalty tries to Dundee. It was a great occasion, and of course it means that the team in ninth spot in, say, the Premiership in this case was playing the team in second in the National League, and it was like a one-off game to see who was going to be playing in the top tier the next year, and I love that.
Oh yeah, I remember it well. And what that also does, it takes away dead rubbers again towards the bottom of the bottom of the Prem, and if there's a chance you're going to finish second bottom, let's say a team gets completely cut adrift, they're gone, but you're in the run to finish second bottom, then there's a bit of jeopardy there. And similarly for the second, third, fourth team in the division below, they've got something to play for if somebody's running away with it at the top. So when we go back to 1 up, 1 down next season, the less dead rubbers the better, and if that means playoffs, then fine. But yeah, there's a wider conversation about the structure of the season as a whole.
The playoffs at the moment, they're only for the Premiership. You're not having any National 1, 2 or 3, or indeed National 4 as well. But I think an extra competition involving the top 8 teams in the league would be a brilliant separate competition, generating as much excitement as the playoffs, with the benefit, of course, of big crowds. You've got extra cash for the clubs, also the opportunity of reviving that cup competition, which is literally lost all credibility at the moment. And at the same time, if you seed those 8 teams using their final league positions, it also solves the problem of dead rubbers. The 9th team plays the second from the previous league, and the team that's relegated probably don't want to even play any more rugby, to be honest. And 10th, that's their season over. That's the way I would work it.
Oh yeah, and if you finish, that's another byproduct of finishing 10th. You don't make it into the 8 team, the 8 team cup or whatever it is. So now there's a potential in there. As always, there'll be, or there would need to be committees and meetings and vested interests and all the rest of it. Who knows? But yeah, I'm kind of at the point now with this season where there's still a lot to play for, but I'm sort of almost looking forward to next season already. It's just become too fragmented now. Here we are almost into April.
Yep, I totally agree. So anyway, that's our chat about Aaron.
I believe it was a fantastic game between two very, very the two best teams this season. Ayr, as they do, they got the job done. I think, or judging by what I read, Heriot's lost Wallace, their flanker, early, half an hour in, and he'd already done enough in that time to make the offside line team of the week. So that's not helped their cause. So you just never know when it does get done. It'll potentially be these two teams in the final again. You just never know. But yeah, all the smart money's on Ayr from here on in to pick up the silverware after the playoffs.
And before we leave the playoffs, we've got to also mention the fact that the team in fourth place, and don't forget, it's the clubs that are voting for the playoffs, and it's the old turkeys won't vote for Christmas situation. And if you're a team like, well, let's have a look at, say, Musselburgh or Edinburgh, Accies and Marr, Glasgow Hawks, the Kelso, the teams at the bottom of the table, who realistically are never going to be champions in a league, but they could get in the back door, and you never know. In 2 games, you could have 2 early red cards, and all of a sudden, the team that becomes Scottish champions could be 32, 34, 36 points behind the actual team who were in first place.
That's right, and that's always been the way with playoffs. I remember, Wasps in their pomp, they didn't write off the first half of the season, but they almost purposefully, it was always thought that they purposefully do what they need to do to put themselves in a position with 8 rounds of games to go to hit their straps then and to get the momentum and have all the momentum coming into the playoffs. And if you finish 20 points behind Leicester or Bath or whoever win the league, then so be it. It is what it is in that regard. I don't see it happening this season, though. Whoever has to go to Melrose, if that's how it ends up, it'll be Currie ultimately. So Currie will finish a number of points behind Ayr, of course. There'll be a 2-horse race, as you say. Somebody gets sent off early doors, and Currie have got some big lumps, and they're a decent team as well. But yeah, it's just that. It's that age-old argument about playoffs, and some people love them and some people hate them.
Okay, let's move on. I promise we'll move on to the second game from last week. Glasgow Hawks 31, Watsonians 38. And you look at that and you think, my goodness, that is close. And of course it was at the end. But Hawks were trailing 31-5. They came back to tie the match at 31-all. And then Watsonians got a late score. But 2 valuable points for Hawks, as they had the previous week against Currie as well. So whether you say they're a lucky team or an unlucky team, I'm not quite sure.
It's a strange one because you're rightly giving them loads of plaudits for the last couple of weeks, and yet they lost both games, but they've picked up some really, really valuable points. 4 points from that little lot, and you've got pretty long odds on that, and that puts them in a position whereby safety it's not quite guaranteed, of course, given what Marr have still got to do, but they're in an awful lot better position after the last 2 games than some people would have predicted. That's for sure. So that's a good effort, and yeah, Watsonians have got the job done. Maybe took the foot off the gas there a wee bit, and yeah, the defence will need to tighten up a wee bit there, because when they travel to Heriot's in the quarter, if Glasgow Hawks can run up 31 points, then Heriot's can run up more.
Kelso 38, Currie 54, a game that you were at, of course. Bonus point for Kelso, including 4 tries for the incredible Bruce McNeil in his 40s, but he'll still be playing his 50s, you know that. We're just going to keep on commentating on him for years to come. He looks as fit as a fiddle and playing the top of his game.
Oh yeah, he's a freak. He's a freak of nature, and I mean that in the best possible way. I mean, to be in his 40s and scoring 4 tries and sort of running things the way that he does, and turned into a good game actually, because 25 minutes in, I genuinely feared for Kelso. I thought they were staring down the barrel of an absolute hiding. It was 33 points to 3 at one point. Everything that Currie touched turned to gold. They scored tries far too easy, but Kelso rallied, and they got a couple of quick scores before half time, and they came out firing. I don't think they were ever really, there was a realistic chance at that point they were going to win the game, but I've said it before, if they were going to get anything from a game against Currie, then that to me is a good result, and it certainly became a good result after being 33 points to 3 down. So fair play to them, but I was impressed by Currie. Currie again, they won't be that enamoured or that pleased at losing the points, losing the tries that they did and the points that they did, but yeah, fair play to Currie. They won't be a complete pushover down at Ayr. They've got some big boys, they've got some good rugby players, and they are by quite some distance now the 4th force in this league.
Marr 35, Edinburgh 21. Edinburgh relegated because of that result. It's been a difficult season for them, with many second half performances which really weren't up to standards, and even Neil Armstrong, the co-captain there at the club, recognised that fact, and of course clubs capitalised on it.
Oh, definitely. It was the week before that was Accies' undoing from that commanding winning position against Melrose. How they managed to blow that, I do not know. And yeah, the writing was always on the wall thereafter. Marr have given themselves a chance, but it is still just a squeak of a chance given who they've still got to play. But you never know. It's first and foremost a good result. They got the 5 points there against Accies, and they've got those 3 home games still to come.
Well, Marr still in with a shout, as you say. They have to get past either Hawks or Kelso with 3 games to play for them. Hawks have 2 games to play, and Kelso have that 1 game to play. So it's a bit of an unwinding of the stagger, if you like. Always treat it like a 4x400 metres relay. And Marr could still get up there to survive. We shall talk more about tomorrow very shortly. But the other game was Melrose 29, Hawick 39. An amazing turnaround in fortunes for the Greens, coming off the back of that record loss at home to Ayr. They came from behind, the character was there, but you had Lee Armstrong back, you had Kirk Ford calling the shots at full-back, Andrew Mitchell was back fit again as well. Of course, Fraser Rennick came back as well, and what a difference.
Oh, definitely. That I called that last weekend the result of the weekend, and I stand by that. Particularly as you say, they were 12-0 up, then Melrose came back, and then Melrose got quite far in front into the second half, and great character, great resolve by Hawick, given what had happened the week before. And yeah, leaders, you're right, it looked like their leaders stood up. You could see when they scored tries, they were absolutely pumped. It was like the Hawick of the last couple of seasons. They were snarling. It looked like they were in Melrose faces. And it was I watched it back. It was a really, really good game. 2 teams that went right at each other. But yeah, absolutely tremendous result for Hawick. All credit to them.
Selkirk 53, Musselburgh 24, comprehensive win for Selkirk as expected, and also as expected Musselburgh getting another try bonus as they prepare for National 1 Rugby next season. They never ever have given up this season at all. They've lost Eric O'Riordan now, he's leaving the club.
Yeah, and I think he's done a really good job there over the years, Derek. It's been a tough season for them, but I think it was always going to be, in all honesty, Stuart. And that they've not had some of their best players for large chunks of the season. Badenhorst springs to mind. He makes a massive difference to them, and he's not been available all that often. So yeah, it was always going to be a struggle for them this particular season, with the likes of Ayr and Heriots and Watsonians coming back into the fray. And yeah, they've gone down manfully, as you rightly say. They never give up. But yeah, great way for Selkirk to sign off at home in front of their own fans this season. Brilliant campaign, exceeded all expectations in my opinion. Certainly exceeded my expectations, and yeah, tough away trip for them this weekend. But yeah, they can be very, very content with their season's work. So
let's have a look at the Premiership table as it stands at the moment. Ayr in first place with 101 points. Heriots 91, Watsonians 81, Currie 69, then Selkirk 60, Melrose 51, Hawick 50, Kelso 42, Glasgow Hawks 40, and then in the relegation zone, Marr 34, Edinburgh relegated 31, and Musselburgh relegated with 17 points. So, I mean, technically Currie just need the 1 point now, don't they, from the game which is happening this evening, a match being played tonight. It was supposed to be live on BBC Alaba, but that was moved by Alaba, and so they swapped that with Melrose Hawick last week instead. Let's hear from Hawick head coach Graham Hogg.
Looking back to last Saturday, I think it's fair to say that we're absolutely delighted with the result, especially off the back of what happened the week before. Performance-wise, I thought the boys really stuck to task. It wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but some of the stuff we done in attack was really, really pleasing. And defensively, we certainly taken some strides forward again against a Melrose backline, a Melrose 15 who certainly like to attack and caused us problems there. But I think the biggest credit I could give to the boys is just in terms of how they've reacted and the resilience they've shown after obviously what happened the week before against Ayr. I don't think he could underestimate the importance of getting that win on Saturday against Melrose. A lot of the stuff that happened during the week was mentality. Training was excellent, the Tuesday and the Thursday leading into the Melrose game, but yeah, these boys take a battering from all different angles in that 7 days. So to come out and show the resilience and show the passion and show some of the technical and tactical skills that they had on display, that's what I was most proud of them. As I say, to come back from that is not easy. I think everybody can appreciate that. So to do it, I think that was definitely the biggest win of the week. Looking forward to this week, we've obviously got our first Friday night game against Currie. Down at Mansfield Park. Now again, without harping back to the past, the last time we played at Mansfield, it wasn't what we expect of a Hawick team going out onto Mansfield. So that has been discussed this week. We know that we defensively need to front up even more this week against an abrasive Currie side who look to take us on. Obviously they had a good performance against Kelso and they're obviously in that top four for a reason. So we know that we need to be on our mettle, and with 2 games to go, a little bit of freedom now for the boys, a little bit more excitement again in camp, especially more than there was leading up to their game. So we are massively looking forward to the challenge this weekend.
Yeah, it must have been a difficult week for the boys experiencing that sort of backlash to that result. I remember talking to Jim Rennick, and he used to say if we had a bad result on the Saturday, we had to walk the streets of Hawick on the Monday, and people told you exactly what they felt.
That's right, Stuart, but it's different nowadays, and to my mind it's worse because
social media.
Exactly that. People that wouldn't say it to your face on Hawick High Street will put their comments on social media, and to me that's even worse. I thought some of what I seen was, it was getting on towards despicable, to be honest. So yeah, they dealt with it in the best way that they could, and that was to win the following game against Melrose at the Green Yards. Talk about pressure on those players, and it's a away game, and a tricky away game at that, and they responded in the best way they could. So yeah, looking forward to tonight. Like I say, I was impressed by Currie last week against Kelso. They've got some big boys, and they can play a bit as well. In the forwards, Hasdall, Courtney West, their hooker Stewart, he's a wrecking ball. Ali Bain can run them in. Ryan Davis, we all know about him. Cardosi, and that's before you get into the boys that are coming off the bench. They brought a bomb squad on around the 60-minute mark. 4 or 5 of them came on at the same time against Kelso. Mentioned to David Ferguson, we sort of looked at each other and went, "Oh my word, here's some more big units coming." So yeah, it's going to be tough for Hawick. Currie are going to be bigger than them physically, so Hawick will need to front up. But if they can bottle some of what they had last weekend and take that into tonight, then who knows? And my word, there's been some great ding-dongs between these 2 teams in the last 2 or 3 years.
It certainly has, and of course Currie need just that 1 point to just make it absolutely 100% sure.
Currie have that 4th place sewn up and everything, and everything bar paper. And I don't mean this in a bad way, but so they should. They have got comfortably the 4th best, if not, maybe even on a par with Watsonians. They've got comfortably the 4th best squad in the league. There's many ex-Super Series players in there, good, solid Super Series players. Yeah, they should be in 4th. Anything other than minimally 4th would have been a bad season for them, but they've got there after a shaky start. And
it was shaky as well, wasn't it?
It was, and it's been a good recovery. It has been a really good recovery, and they're the only team, let's not forget, that have beaten Ayr this season. So they're in a good place at the moment. Currie, really good squad, a lot of guys coming off the bench, and it's going to be a tough game for Hawick tonight.
And they like their Friday nights as well, don't they? They've had a few of them.
Oh, they do. They seem to, and it seems to be working well for them. I think they beat Ayr on a Friday night, and they beat Watsonians on a Friday night. So yeah, it'll be a good occasion there tonight under the lights at Mansfield. Hopefully there'll be a big crowd and they'll see a decent game.
7:30 kick-off for that one. On to tomorrow then, Ayr against Selkirk, last game of the season for Ayr, who want to end their league season unbeaten at home. And of course this is a match which was called off due to the frost when Selkirk decided the pitch wasn't playable. Ayr of course had a different opinion, but no signs of frost tomorrow. Let's hear from Selkirk head coach Sesh Henderson.
For this week, we're through Ayr, so that's it's a massive challenge for us. It's one that we've been preparing well for during the week. We're excited to go through there and just and see how we front up against what is the best side in Scotland. Very physical side. They've got some good rugby players in the backs, but we'll prepare to go through there and put our shoulder to the front line and put a big fight up for 80 minutes. And that's what the boys will do. That's what they've done all season. Unfortunately, we're missing a few guys this week through unavailability. This was a standby week, so they'd arranged things. So there'll be a few changes in the backs. Forwards will probably look the same, but we'll just have to see how that pans out. But we'll certainly go through there and give you an 80-minute game on Saturday. So we're all excited to see what we get out of it. You said this was your last soundbite. I just want to say, look, I think you and your team, Robin, and that just do a fantastic job of advertising Scotland and reporting on rugby and the borders, especially throughout the whole season. It's been great. It's really been great to have Robin along, or be lucky mascot throughout the season. I don't know, he's probably put some weight on all the trade break that I've been giving him, but look, I just really appreciate the work you and your team do. It's great for coverage of Scottish rugby, and I hope you have a good weekend.
Thank you very much. How much do you pay him for this trade break? All these compliments coming out there.
I know it's been very well received and very much appreciated. I actually made the mistake of taking some home and gave it to my kids, and I hugely embarrassingly had to text Sesh during the following week to ask him for the recipe. It was I was mortified, and I said that to Sesh, but it was the lesser of two evils, because my kids were at me, and I said, no way am I texting the guy, and I finally relented, and very accommodating he was too, I have to say, so thanks for that. But yeah, talk of lucky mascots, etc. They'll need, Selkirk will need more than that tomorrow, as any team that heads across the air. And yeah, if they're missing a few in the backs, that's unfortunate, because that, Selkirk, that's where they can cause, they've got a decent set of forwards as well, of course, but they can cause teams problems in the backs. So it'll remain to be seen who's missing. But yeah, that's not gonna help the cause, and it's the old free hit, as we've spoken about so often this season.
Edinburgh Accies against Watsonians. It's all over for Accies, I'm afraid. Watsonians have confirmed their third place. So how do they both approach this one? Watsonians obviously need their best players on the park for the playoffs in a few weeks' time. So do they drop them from this game? What do they do?
Oh, it's a good question, and it's a question you could say about other games this weekend as well. You could have said it about Ayr v Selkirk, I suppose. So it's one of those. Yeah, you don't want Jason Baggett or somebody like that to get a dull one and rule them out for the rest of the campaign. But at the same token, these guys need to keep rugby on their legs, and momentum, and there's Watsonians guys at the top of the towards the top of the try scoring charts and whatnot. Owsley as well, they won't want to lose him. There might be a bit of rotation in some of the the playoff bound teams, but yeah, I think Watsonians will have enough there, regardless. To be honest, that how do Accies approach this one? Do they go one last hurrah, go down swinging, or have boys lost interest now? And you could kind of see it if how do you get yourself up for this game if you're an Accies player?
Kelso against Glasgow Hawks. We go from a dead rubber to a match that has so much at stake for both sides. Let's bring in Director of Rugby at Kelso, Neil Hinnigan.
Last game of the season, we host Glasgow Hawks at Pointer Park. Big match for the club, given this is our last opportunity to get any points on the board. We're not mathematically safe, and Hawks are also in the same boat. So whoever wins this game is going to stay up for sure. Whoever loses has got a little bit of a hang on with Marr, got games in hand and so on. So the situation's not great if you were to lose on Saturday. So we need to really be on it from minute 1 to minute 80. We've not really put in a full 80-minute performance since the Hawick match. We've played in fits and starts and not really started games very well the last two matches, away to Heriot and at home to Currie. Albeit really good opposition. Credit to Heriot and Currie, the way they attack, and they're just winning all the collisions, and it's difficult to hold your defensive line. They get in behind a lot easier. So against Hawks, they're a good, solid team, and they've been fighting for everything this season. They've been really impressive. They narrowly beat us up at Hawks, which they got 5 points. I think we picked up 2. So I think both teams would be looking for similar outcomes this weekend. Again, it's about picking up points. They'll be very charged up. Hawks, under Andy Hill, he has them in a good place this season. They usually have some good pro draft players in as well from the academy. They've been getting the use of these guys as well, and they bring a little bit more dimension, as we know as well ourselves when we get 1 or 2. So it always helps. So it's fitting up to be a really good match, I would say. But yeah, it's vitally important that we start well and we get into the game. Team will be much the same as last week against Currie, and we know what's at stake. So Yeah, I expect a decent crowd down there, and I know the lads will really appreciate an extra turnout to cheer us on in the last game. As I say, it's been a long season. It's been a roller coaster ride, and at one time as if we wouldn't maybe get out of the relegation zone with sitting bottom of the league, I think around early December. So we have come a long way, but it could all be undone in one day. So that's sport. But hopefully we get the win, and it's a club dinner on Saturday night as well. So the boys will get a deserved beer after it and can enjoy the awards and a bit of a laugh with their peers and supporters alike. So yeah, it'd be a good day to finish on a high and get that win.
So get the slide rule and the abacus out. Basically, if they get a win and Glasgow Hawks don't get anything, or they get a try bonus and they stop Glasgow Hawks from getting 2 bonuses, then Kelso are safe.
There is a bit of working out, or I was trying to work it out earlier today, to be honest, and I'm not sure I've got it right based on what Neil said there. So a wee bit of a head scratcher, but yeah, I think in simplistic terms, Kelso and I suppose to a degree Hawks, they just need to almost ignore all of that noise and all the calculations and all that kind of stuff, and just go out and win a rugby match, and then the rest will take care of itself. But my word, what a ding-dong to end the season at Poynter. Brilliant place to be on a Saturday afternoon at the best of times, and I would imagine it'll be fairly raucous down there tomorrow. It's the last game of the season anyway, but there's an awful lot riding on it. Talk about dead rubbers, this ain't no dead rubber. It'll be interesting to see how it pans out. Not so long ago, and certainly last season, you have this as down as a home banker all day long, but not necessarily this season. But Neil's right, Kelso are vastly improved from where they were just shy of Christmas. It's been a really good run. Currie caused them problems physically, so the Hawks probably will have noted that. But at the same token, Kelso, for all the great ball players they've got, hoof it in the corner, set up the line out and let the man do his thing at the tail.
Marr against Heriots. Marr won't have a lot of their key players playing due to Grant Baird's stag do. He's the captain, of course, of Marr. So no Colin Sturgeon, no Benj Johnston, and a few others missing as well. But they still have to play Hawick and Currie at home when they should be at full strength. But again, what side will Heriots put out ahead of the playoffs as well? I mean, so many questions to be asked. But if Marr don't get anything out of this one, then the most they can get is 44. And Kelso are currently on 42. Glasgow Hawks on 40. So the results of these 2 matches absolutely paramount.
Oh, definitely, and it's so unfortunate for Marr. But it's a standby weekend, and the guy's quite rightly done the right thing by the club by booking his stag do on a weekend that wasn't supposed to be for rugby. So that's almost catastrophic, unfortunately for Marr. But no fault of anybody there, absolutely not. And you're right about Heriots. Heriots could send the under-21s through tomorrow and wrap everybody else up in cotton wool. Heriots, nothing can change for them now. They've got a home semi against Watsonians, so they know where they stand. So I guess it's entirely up to them. Do you wrap some in cotton wool? Do you wrap loads in cotton wool? Or do you just keep them playing rugby, keep momentum, keep them sharp, keep them fresh? Who knows? But if it hadn't been for the stag do, I would have said it might be a banana skin this for Heriots, but I can see Heriots coming away with it now. But like I say, that's absolutely nobody's fault through it, Marr.
So the other match is Melrose against Musselburgh. Again, another dead rubber. Let's hear what head coach or co-head coach of Melrose, Scott Wight, has to say.
Really disappointed in terms of last week. We probably done enough in the first half. We had a great opportunity just to score before half time and didn't execute it. And I thought the boys actually came out, start the second half, played a real good brand of rugby like what we spoke about at half time to go 24-15 up, and then I completely fell away. Fair play to Hawick, they kind of battered us about for 25 minutes and came out on the right end of the score, which is really disappointing for us as a squad. But look, the good thing is with rugby, we get a chance to correct that this week against Musselburgh at home. So boys, I think it's getting to that stage of the season that, it's important that we do finish on a high because you're a long time away. So, it's really important that we finish with a performance that, all the work over the season kind of deserves. But it's the same as most weeks. We're just not consistent enough for long enough periods of the game. And, some of the tries we've scored this year and some of the rugby we've played has been, first class. But on the opposite end of the scale, when we're bad. So it's just basically nullifying or minimising the bad parts, and trying to play at a level that we know we're capable of for longer periods of the game, which is obviously a huge focus this week. Team-wise, it'll not change hugely, unfortunately. The kind of mass exodus of the injuries of the back row remains. So I no Elliot Ruthven, no Craig Fairbairn, no Ben McLean, no Rory Lindsay, no Alan Ferry, which is a bit of a blow, to be honest, in terms of where we are. But that's just where we are. We just have to suck it up and get on with it. On more of a positive note, we've got Harry Morris and Mac Rutherford released this week from Edinburgh, which is great. So both will probably feature. So yeah, looking forward to Musselburgh this weekend at the Greenyards, and hopefully we're on the right end of the scoreboard at 4:30.
Melrose and Musselburgh.
Home win, I would say. Stewart, Scott's right, very disappointing result. Second half performance, at least, I would say, last weekend. But Melrose have not got the problems to seek, as he said, from an injury point of view. The back rowers there that he reeled off that are unavailable, and Bruce Colvin had to play in the back row last weekend, and a guy in his late 30s that manfully stepped up from the twos. So yeah, that's a problem. But Harry Morris coming in, that'll certainly help, as it helped earlier in the season, and Mac Rutherford coming in as well. That may enable one of the second rowers to move into the back row. So yeah, I fancy Melrose to end the campaign on a high tomorrow. Musselburgh will go down swinging, you'd imagine, as they've done all season. And I think all in all for Melrose, mid-table, comfortable mid-table, probably go to 56 points. I'll make it. I think if you'd asked anybody, with any degree of honesty at the Greenyards at the start of the season, if you handed them 56 points on a plate, they'd have bitten your hand off at the start of the season. So I think all in all, a pretty good campaign for Melrose, but stuff to think about going forward, because I think, since the turn of the year, maybe, the latter part of December, the teams that beat Edinburgh Accies, Marr, and assuming they beat Musselburgh tomorrow, they've drawn with Glasgow Hawks and they've lost to everybody else now. Those three teams that they've beat or potentially beat, they ain't going to be around next season, potentially. Melrose, like other teams around them, Hawks and Kelso and Hawick, teams that need to have a wee think about next season, and potentially some recruitment over the summer, I would say.
Well, National 1 is over. It's been over for a wee while now, actually. So National 2 is still going on, and it looks as if that's going to go to the 26th of April at the moment, which is extraordinary for a 9-team league, but there it is, nevertheless. One game tomorrow. It's champions Gordonians facing Newton Stewart. Hell of a bus ride, that. Newton Stewart, of course, they've won their last 3 games with bonus points. Gordonians have got nothing else to play for, effectively, because they're already champions. So it sets up a very interesting game.
It definitely does, and it would have been unthinkable a few weeks ago to suggest that Newton Stewart were going to clamber out of the mess that they were in, but clamber out of it they have, and 65 points to put in Kirkcaldy last weekend. So I imagine that'll be a fairly buoyant, albeit very lengthy, as you say, bus journey up there. That's got to be the longest. Berwick have some long trips with Newton Stewart to Gordonians. That's got to be the longest league journey, surely. But no, they'll go up there in great fettle, and playing against the Gordonians team, the trophy's in the bag, nothing to play for. Who knows? And if you have Newton Stewart again, if they come away with anything, great. Can they win that on paper? It looks like they can.
Because obviously Berwick are in the mix, Lasswade in the mix, Preston Lodge, who kind of wagged their tail after winning at Scremerston last weekend as well. So there's 4, only 2 are going to survive.
It's all to play for, and Berwick have still got, I think Berwick have still got Lasswade to play. Lasswade have still got 2 home games. They've got Falkirk, I believe, still to play, and then Newton Stewart, after Gordonians, have got GHK at home, so that's winnable, the form that they're in. So yeah, there's a lot of rugby, as you say. We're in April nearly, and yet there's a lot of rugby we've played.
Well, let's turn to the National League Cup quarter-final now, which takes place tomorrow. It's Kirkcaldy and Berwick. Kirkcaldy qualifying as a result of Falkirk beating Howe of Fife. It was a pool round, effectively, but they didn't win by a big enough margin, and that meant that Kirkcaldy got through to take their place at home against Berwick. Let's hear from Berwick's head coach, Paul Pringle.
Last Saturday was obviously a pretty disappointing day for us in regards to the result against Preston Lodge. We just never really got going, to be honest, and all credit to Preston Lodge. They came down for a scrap and just really they were fighting for their survival in the league and just really wanted it a bit more than us. For me, it was, a mixture of things, whether it's pressure, I'm not really sure, but, partly blame for it, I think, is certainly that the same frustration that probably all coaches in this league have had this season, and that's large periods of time between games. We had a really strong performance away at Kirkcaldy, and when you come off the back of those games, you really just, the next game can't come soon enough, but suddenly you've got a 3-week gap and it's very hard to kind of get the guys back training, to get them motivated, and really you drop off for 2 weeks, and then, like I said to the guys, you can't expect to just come back the week of a game, especially a big game like that, and then get right back into it. So it's a lesson for us, but one we need to take on the chin and move on. There were some positives, Jordan Patterson in the front row played, exceptionally well. We had, Jordan Jackson came back off the bench and was a real menace. He was cutting lines everywhere. So, there was positives. I was probably, as the lads was pretty down on Saturday, but we don't have time for that really. We need to pick ourselves and move up. So we've had a good week's training. We get the opportunity to take an extended squad to Kirkcaldy in the quarter-final of the Cup. To be honest, we're not taking this easy, thinking, we had a good win up there last time. That was a hard-fought victory, and certain that this will be a big game this week, and it'll be a lot tougher task. Kirkcaldy will have a big crowd, and really, we're looking no further than this game, but we have had the opportunity to bring in guys like Sam Vassey on the bench. Carl Gullen will come back on the bench. Callum Sims back available again, so we are able to kind of push it out a little bit, which is great. In terms of starting selection, was a little bit of a blow this week. We did have Ewan Thompson back training. Ewan's a big player for us. He came through the fitness etc on Tuesday, but went into contact. Unfortunately, he's injured his ankle again. So I'm not sure Ewan will feature again this season, but he's still a very big presence. I mean, he's been injured quite a bit, but he's never actually missed a training session. He's there. He's working with the lads on set plays and just kind of sharing his experience from being in Prem 1, so he's still very much a big presence in the camp, and he'll continue to do that this season, even if he's not able to take the field. So it'll be a tough game, we've no doubt about that, but the rewards are there in the Cup. The potential of a home semi-final would be massive, but we're not taking anything for granted.
So the winners, they'll be at home, as he said, to Hillhead Jordan Hill from a league below, and that's definitely winnable. The other semi-final, already established for April the 5th, will be GHK against Gordonians. They've got the better draw, haven't they?
Yeah, I would say so. Stuart, they won their brilliant win there 2-3 weeks ago, whenever it was. So they can go there and win again, and then, as you say, they've got on the face of it an easier passage to a final, I think, on the big pitch on Silver Saturday. So plenty to play for. You get to play on the big pitch ultimately. Yeah,
which they enjoy doing.
Oh, they absolutely do.
Wasn't that long ago, was it?
Yeah,
5 years, 6 years.
Yeah, not an alien concept to them. So it's something to get away up there. Another long bus journey, but get away up there and give it your best crack.
Yeah, should be interesting anyway. So that's happening. We wish Berwick the best of luck. On to the National Bowl semi-final now between Earlston and Hillfoots. The winners will go to the Hive Stadium for a 10 a.m. Yes, a 10 a.m. kick-off on April the 19th against either Banff or, is it Lochaber or Lochaber? Any ideas?
Yeah, toss of a coin that for me, Stuart, to be honest.
Not an area I'm familiar with. Yeah. But that's the other semi-final, so that's going to be a very early start. In fact, if Banff win their semi-final tomorrow, that's going to be a long old trek, 4.5 hours, I think, on the bus. They'll have to set off about 4 in the morning, or get crowd-funded and come up the night before and stay in a hotel and do it in style. Anyway, let's hear what Cammy Hill has to say, the head coach of Earlston.
This weekend, we welcome Hillfoots to the Hogg in the National Bowl semi-final. Obviously, massive day for the club. It's not very often you get the chance to get yourself in these positions where you've got a chance playing in the national finals day, whether it be Hive or Murrayfield. It's still going to be a good experience. Obviously, Hillfoots, Caledonia Midlands 2 team, don't know how to read that, whether it's a slightly better standard or whether they kind of match us, but regardless of what it is, we'll take the game to them and we'll continue to play the way we've played all season, and I really do believe that if we could stick to our structure and play how we have for a majority of the season, we will be more than capable of beating them and booking our place on the 19th April up there. Squad-wise, as you can imagine, there's numbers available that we've not seen for years and years and years, obviously. So it's really good. Training over the last couple of weeks has been great. Some lads got their chances at medics last week, and a few of them really put their hand up, who will make the squad this week, which is really pleasing. Unfortunately, we're missing our usual number 9, Gareth Walker, and our utility back, Craig Bruce, both unfortunately available, which isn't ideal, but the guys that are filling them positions are more than capable of stepping up and really showing what they can do. So here's hoping that we can get a win on Saturday and get ourselves booked into the national finals.
There we are. Lots of confidence from Earlston, of course, and hard to judge the standard of Hillfoots. Actually, I had to look it up on the map. It's sort of up Stirling Way and a bit to the right. That's where Hillfoots play, and they've got quite a big history as well. But it's a home semi-final. Earlston firing on all cylinders. They've already won the East Bowl. They've already won East League 3, so they're promoted as champions in that one. And they definitely want the hat-trick.
And so they should. What an opportunity to, if we go play at the Hive, albeit at 10 in the morning, as you say. But brilliant season for Earlston. Big numbers at training. Just seem to be, a community club in a brilliant place at the moment. And I think that man that was talking there, Cammy, he's probably got a lot to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just shows as well, because, everyone, on this level, the East level, the Caledonian level as well, they struggle getting people to training. Not at Earlston.
Oh no, this seems to be the case for whatever reason. Just obviously guys that want to play rugby on a Saturday afternoon, they want to play at that level. Winning obviously helps. Doesn't matter what level you're playing at. If you're winning, it's a fun place to be. But whatever they're doing at Earlston at the moment, they're doing it right, and they've got a formula for success there. And they can. I imagine they will be very much looking forward to this one tomorrow, and then potentially what comes thereafter.
Well, we've got you in Swinton going down there, covering that one for us tomorrow. Of course, I don't think I mentioned that David Ferguson and your good self will be at Kelso against Glasgow Hawks for our commentary match tomorrow as well. So whatever you do, don't miss that one. That's going to be absolutely sensational. In East League 2, Hoyt Quins are away to Leith. The Quins captain is Liam Graham.
Yeah, after last week's home victory against Pennycook, we're travelling away this weekend to Leith. The first of 3 away games. We know it's always going to be a tough task in this league. I think all teams this season in our league struggled with away games, apart from Dunbar really. So we're hoping this weekend we can get a relatively strong squad up to Leith and hopefully get another win in our challenge for second place. We know what the task is in front of us. We need to win 2 of the last 3 games to know we're going to be second place. So this game's a really big game, important game for us, even though it's later on in the season. We know what we need to do. Second place was always really the big aim at the start of the season, to finish top 2. Dunbar have been miles ahead of anybody else in this league, so we know we want to finish best of the rest. We're hoping to welcome back a few boys who were unavailable from last weekend due to work commitments, and then obviously we're going to be losing a few also to work commitments, and travelling away is always tough in this league. Going up to Edinburgh every other week is always a tough ask for boys to be available every week. I'm so hoping to have a relatively strong squad. They're a pretty forward heavy squad for what we played against them the last time, so we know our forwards will need to be at our A game to nullify their attack going forward. Hoping to play the same rugby as what we did the second half of last week. First half we really found it a slog, so in the second half we really kind of started using the ball a bit more, so hoping to do the same this weekend hopefully, and hoping for a good win on the road.
Also tomorrow in East League 3, Duns are away to Lismore, and Hoyt Lindeen also visit the capital to take on Edinburgh University Medics in their last match of the season. The latest from Lindeen's Kieran Murphy.
Obviously we've had to wait a bit for this one after a kind of 4-week layoff, as our season was due to finish on the 1st of March, but with this game being cancelled in January, there's been no other available date due to Six Nations and Medics having other fixtures, so here we are at the 29th of March kind of playing a final game. So just all credit the lads, keeping on training, keep on working hard over the 4 weeks with no fixtures. Obviously some boys have been fortunate enough to get games for other clubs, which we've done with other teams for, but the rest of the lads, fair play and massive well done to them. Again, obviously it's hard to keep going when you're obviously just waiting for a game. We did look at fixtures, but dates didn't suit. People had made arrangements just where obviously you weren't about to have a game, so and again, boys are well within the right to do that. So In terms of the team on Saturday, we've got a few young lads in, a few older heads playing the final game and things like that, so there'll be a nice mix in the squad. There's good numbers available. We've got a few injuries back, so obviously with a way off, but we've got a couple unavailable away doing things and that. Obviously this was a rescheduled fixture, so we're just hoping for a good result. We pretty much cemented second place. It would take an absolute massive disaster to drop into third, but up in Edinburgh on Saturday. But we just want to finish the season a high, get a victory, have a good day out. Really enjoy this final week of the week season. We've kind of built the platform for next season. We obviously know what our goals are, and I think the aim has to be to go up next year. We're kind of behind Earlston, the best of the rest. I just like to wish Earlston the best of luck in the National Bowl semi. Obviously pipped us in the group, very close, so it could easily been us. So I just go out and do it, lads, and good luck.
Well, that's it for this series of the Friday Rugby Preview. We're on air tomorrow at 2:30 with commentary on Kelso v Glasgow Hawks in the Premiership with Robin and David Ferguson in the commentary box. Ewan Swinton, as I say, is at the Hogg for Earlston against Hillfoots in the National Bowl semi-final. Remember, you can listen to Rugby Radio at rugbyradio.co.uk and also from the homepage of bordersrugby.net, and our Twitter feed at Borders Scores will bring you the latest score updates throughout the afternoon. But for now, from Robin and myself, a very good night.
The Friday Rugby Preview with Stuart Cameron.